welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I'm, of course, your host, Rob Burgess. On this, our 257th episode, our returning guest is Ash Burgess. Ash Burgess has appeared on dozens of episodes of the podcast. For a complete list, check the show notes. Ash Burgess has a dusty degree in religious studies and an appetite for both high and low culture. She strives to celebrate the best of every season with her young children. Follow her on Instagram and subscribe to her YouTube channel. And now, on to the show. Welcome back to the Rob Burgess Show, Ash Burgess.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, we are here to do our yearly, annual, traditional...
Splendors of Autumn.
Yes.
I'm very excited. I think I'm so eager for autumn this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not quite autumn.
No.
It's, well, we got a little taste of it. We had that sort of false fall about a week and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was glorious.
Yeah.
It was actually, crisp and cool in the mornings. It was sweatshirt weather. The kids and I, took a walk every day. We went to the park. We played at the playground. We walked around the duck pond. We saw some turtles and trees and, It was glorious.
Yeah.
And I knew it couldn't stay that way forever, but I really still kind of hoped it would.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's back to being hot winter.
Yes.
It's hot. The air is thick and humid, and there are mosquitoes, and it's just the worst. And it really is it's just too hot. And I'm trying to find things to appreciate about this time of year rather than rushing through it, but it's real hard at this point.
Yeah.
I'm appreciating that the sunflowers that we planted are in bloom.
I like that.
They're really nice, and they're always a late summer kind of flower. So that's at least the plants are loving it.
Yeah, it's like a greenhouse out there, so they're really enjoying all the heat, the humidity, the sunshine. It's all hit, except it's not rained quite as much lately as they probably would like it. But
no, I've been trying to remember to water more because I'd gotten into the habit of just letting the rain water them because we had that kind of through July. I feel like it would rain almost every day for a while there.
Yeah,
you have just storms just kind of roll through.
A few pretty significant storms,
but now I actually do need to be watering more because things are looking a little crispy. But
probably need to water the lawn too now that I think about it.
Yeah, we need to get a sprinkler.
We do.
And really get going on that. It's looking okay now, but if it doesn't rain again more frequently soon, it's going to start looking less good.
Yeah.
But that taste of fall, I would have been eager for fall anyway, obviously. But that taste of fall, I think, really just set my sights on it,
Yep.
And actual autumn, I think there's a lot to look forward to for us this year. It'll be the baby's second autumn, and we've talked before about how second holidays are actually more fun with babies than first holidays. Second season's the same thing. Last fall he wasn't really able to appreciate the splendors of the season at all.
No.
He obviously couldn't go trick-or-treating, couldn't go out and about, wasn't really into really much that was happening fall specific. He did notice some trees, and that was kind of cool to see him when he was first seeing trees. But beyond that, it just, there's so much that he'll be able to appreciate this year. It's just seeing what happens. And it's going to be maybe a little surprising to him. I don't know how well he remembers last year. So when he sees all the fall colors, as the trees change and everything, and as it's nice to go outside and run around and everything, he's going to be so excited because he can actually walk too this year, unlike last fall.
Yeah, I know.
So I think we do have a lot to look forward to. Also, we are in a great neighborhood for trick-or-treating now.
Oh, yeah.
I've always wanted to be in a neighborhood where I could actually... It's not so much the trick-or-treating that I'm looking forward to as the having trick-or-treaters come to our house. I feel like that'll just be so exciting because I've never, not the whole time that I was a kid or in, the whole part of my adult life that I've had previously, been in a neighborhood where I could just count on, a significant number of trick-or-treaters, but I can just feel it. It's the vibe of the neighborhood. I just know it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, it's going to pop off.
It's going to be great. I mean, if if the like level of celebrating that we had in this neighborhood for 4th of July is any indication, it's going to be awesome.
I think it will be.
I mean, that was fantastic.
How much would you say our neighbors spent on fireworks?
I've been
over the course of several nights, by the way. This wasn't just a one...
No, it was definitely... I mean, I feel like people low-key got started around Memorial Day, and then just the entire week leading up to 4th of July, people went hard, and then after that, people still were going for probably 3 or 4 days afterwards.
But it was really fun, though.
I mean, I've been to small municipal fireworks shows that were significantly worse than this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And being able to see that from the glory of our own home was also great because...
Didn't even have to drive anywhere.
Didn't have to risk our lives on the road with, like, drunken people coming and going from fireworks or whatever 4th of July drinking barbecues they were coming and going from.
Yeah.
I feel like in the past few years I've really soured on going out to fireworks. Just between having a baby...
Mm-hmm.
You know, several of the last years, we've had a baby or a very small toddler that was just going to be terrified of the fireworks anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then to combine that with all the incidents we've had where it felt like we really had a close call with, like, our just lives and safety. It's like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
So...
People on holidays are...
No, people are the worst. But then to be taken by surprise after we decided we weren't even going to go out, and then to have the fireworks just happen around us was one of those amazing things that's just like, yes. I think especially to see the kids getting so excited and being able to stand in their bedroom windows and just like look out at the neighborhood and see the fireworks and be so excited about it. Like, that's got to be a core memory for them.
Kingsley learned to clap.
He was delighted.
In that moment?
I know, and he wasn't even frightened. He was just... I think he could feel like how excited the other kids were, and it was beautiful. And I'm sure the sound was muffled, too, since we were inside our house instead of being out there.
Yeah, I feel like when we've taken other one-year-olds to fireworks, they have not enjoyed it quite as much.
I feel like the last memory I have of taking a small baby to fireworks was just...
Isn't that when we went to Carmel with, like, Lilac?
Yes, and I think she had, like, the noise-canceling earphones on, and she was still just, like, trembling and weeping, and it was terrible. So this was just a completely delightful surprise.
Yeah, totally.
Although the delight that we took in 4th of July does kind of lead into, I think, what has made August so difficult, which is, of course, you know, like you've said before, it's like January of summertime. It's like if July is Christmas time, because we've got 4th of July and we've got my birthday and Cap's birthday, and it's summer still feels fun and exciting and fresh. August is just so hot, just as January is just like suddenly so cold and the holidays are over, and it's just like,
slog.
Man, I'm ready for the next thing.
Yeah.
And so as much as I am trying to take delight in the things like the sunflowers and stuff, I've started delighting more in just the hints of fall, like false fall, of course, and then you found the pumpkin waffle mix at the grocery store the other day.
Yeah, it's been coming back.
I've been hoping to see it, and it was just, I was so happy to see that again.
Totally.
And then I made oatmeal cookies yesterday.
Yeah, can't wait to eat them.
I know, we should get some of those out soon, they're good. And I feel like oatmeal cookies seem very autumnal. Maybe it's just the general flavor profile. And, of course, then the oatmeal cookies, it was funny because it made me think of Gilmore Girls, which is also a very autumnal show.
Yeah.
And the reason it made me think that was I believe it might be in the pilot episode, when Rory gets into the boarding school, or not the boarding school, but the private school that she's going to go to, and Suki, the Melissa McCarthy character, says that she'll celebrate by making cookies, and she's like, "Oh, Protestants love oatmeal," you know. So I do feel like oatmeal cookies does seem like a very like New England in the fall, getting ready to like lace up your saddle shoes and head off to school kind of a cookie, you know.
Definitely.
But in addition to the pumpkin waffles and the oatmeal cookies, we always talk about fall foods, and I feel like we've said most of the things there are to say about fall foods, but have we? There's always more to say about food, isn't there?
Of course.
You were just saying the other day how you're kind of bummed that the Starbucks doesn't seem like they're ever getting their pumpkin scones back.
It hurts. It's personal. Why did it need to go away? They still know how to make it. I don't think any of the ingredients are gone.
I don't know if it was just retired forever for...
It was popular, I thought.
I mean, it was on the menu for a very long time.
And when I would go there, I'd have to be like, is it early enough in the day? Are they going to... Because, I mean, if you go later in the day, you might not get one. They usually were out, I felt like.
When I worked at Starbucks, I know it was like a decade ago, but they were a pretty consistent seller. They were never the hottest pastry item, but they were always in the top tier.
It didn't seem like they were in danger of being taken away.
There were some things that I would go an entire day without selling.
Mm-hmm. I bet you never went an entire day without selling one when they were available.
No, when the pumpkin scones were out, I feel like, especially at peak hours, there was a pretty hot turnover of pumpkin scones. Mm-hmm. Pumpkin scones were something that we would sometimes have to replenish during the day, whereas there were some other items that kind of lingered in the pastry case all day until we had to push them into the trash, Pumpkin scones were never one of those. But do you know if the pumpkin spice latte is back again?
I haven't checked, but we can probably go to the Starbucks this weekend and find out.
We should check. I would think maybe if it's not out yet, they're probably unveiling it.
I feel like I've seen some signs that say pumpkin is back, but I didn't know if they just were trying to get us hyped or if they actually had things. The only pumpkin thing I've had from Starbucks this year was the muffin.
How was that?
Oh, it was good.
Was it the pumpkin cream cheese muffin or?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty classic.
You wouldn't
I'm not that into cream cheese, but I
if you like cream cheese, you'd like it.
I appreciate the fact that many people enjoy the pumpkin cream cheese muffin.
Yeah, no, it was surprisingly good.
Yeah. But I do want to go see if they have the pumpkin spice, even though I still don't actually like.
I may have to go tomorrow and have one again because the internet is supposedly going to be out again tomorrow, starting at 6 a.m. I know.
We've another issue, which has frankly been making my August more challenging, is that I feel like
we've back to school more challenging.
Yes, we've had an internet outage. How many? Is this the 6th one in the last 4 days or something? How many internet outages can we have?
So first, they still thought we lived at our old place.
Well, okay, this seems like a lie to me. Not a lie from you, but a lie on the part of the internet provider.
When we moved here, I called them.
I remember
set up the internet, and it had been working for months.
That's why I'm saying that has to not be true, because I remember us being okay, we need to transfer our service. I remember that you said you'd called. They said we've transferred the service and then start working. The internet then started to work. And then we used the internet successfully.
Why would it work if they didn't know we lived here?
Was it 3 months of successful, seamless internet usage?
And then suddenly
it claimed to not know that we had moved somehow.
And I called and they're like, "Oh, you live at this place?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And they're like, "Yes, you do." And I'm like, "No, I don't."
No, we've been living at this other place for
well, you need to transfer your service. It's I already transferred my service. That's how I was using it.
Yeah, I'm super...
But then, separately from that, they've had, trucks in our neighborhood, going up and down the street, and they've had outages for days, and they've, been "Oh, but we're improving your service, and we didn't improve your service enough, and now we're going to improve it again tomorrow."
I've not noticed any improvements.
It seems to be working unless it's not working.
It's working equally well to how it was before, except for when it's not working at all.
Yes.
So, it's not great. And you're right, it's not good for back to school, because the thing is, I actually tend to think of us as being slightly on the, less internet-y side, as far as just our general lifestyle, and what we do for school. But we do still use it, and I have gotten accustomed to using it in certain ways that I count on it. Just, there's little things that you notice throughout the day when you've grown accustomed to, for example, using Spotify. Mm-hmm. And then your ability to listen to music becomes extremely limited. And little things like that. So, I tend to think of us as not that internet-y in the sense that we don't have the kids doing a lot of, online classes and things like that throughout the day, and we generally save all of our, like, watching stuff for either you and me watch stuff at night sometimes, or we have, like, a weekly movie night with the kids, but we're not even streaming videos and stuff during the day for the most part, unless there's, like, a science video or something I need to show. So I don't really think of us as being, like, super reliant on the internet. But
as soon as you don't have it,
you notice all the little things like, man, I really just want to listen to the playlist that I like to listen to in the morning while I'm cooking breakfast. Or
we need to revamp our physical media player status.
We really do.
We have a lot of physical media.
We just don't have the players set up for them.
We just don't have the player. Like, it would take a small investment on our part to, like, get that going again, because we do have a DVD player.
But it's just something that we need to actually set up in advance of wanting to use it.
Yes.
Because
we had a VHS player, and then it ate Fly Away Home, and I don't trust it anymore.
I know, right? But it's the kind of thing where we have all those things that we basically can use.
We have a lot of records, but we don't have a working record player.
I don't have enough time if the internet is suddenly out to rummage into the storage area to find the CDs and then set up the CD player and quickly play the song. I feel like that's the thing with having kids. Like, if we didn't have kids, I could easily just be like, oh no, the internet's out. I'll now take the time to, like, set this thing up.
I'll read by candlelight.
Or I just mean that I would have the time to be like, okay, I'm going to go into the closet and find the thing that plays the thing and the thing that I want to play, and then take the time to hook it up. But it's like with kids, when I want to listen to the music while I'm cooking breakfast, if I don't have the music player and the music all set up, like, it's just, it all feels like everything needs to kind of happen. Pretty, I just need it to flow in a way that I wasn't prepared to flow without the internet when the internet stopped going. And even though we don't do, like, a lot of online classes and stuff, I do have a lot of curriculum that's in, like, PDFs and things like that I either have on my iPad and read from my iPad to figure out, what I'm doing, or that I need to print components from. And so, yes, it has been challenging. And speaking of printers, I'll tell you what else is challenging. No, I don't want this. This is supposed to be the splendors of autumn, so I don't want to, like, spend the whole episode complaining, but I will say that I've been less than happy with our
got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about them.
Exactly. No, but I did want to talk a little bit more about fall foods because while we touched on the, like, pumpkin spice Starbucks situation, I did want to talk about my evolving feelings for sweet potatoes. Because I don't know if I've mentioned it on one of these episodes before, but I've never been a huge sweet potato fan. And just, I think that's one of those foods that's like a huge Thanksgiving food, Like, do you think of, like, how important do you think sweet potatoes are to Thanksgiving? Not to you personally, but just as far as, like, you assume that they're on the table if you're going to, like, a standard Thanksgiving gathering. 5
or 6 out of 10, I guess.
But I feel like they're usually
I feel like it wouldn't be, like, if the turkey wasn't there or something.
No, you'd be, like, surprised if you were going
I've been to
like,
Thanksgivings without any sweet potatoes, and I wasn't, like, horrified, you know what I mean?
But
if I close my mind and picture the ideal long table spread, they're in there somewhere.
Yeah. But I've just never loved sweet potatoes, like, not just for Thanksgiving, but just in general. I think they're too sweet. They're just... I think there are other orange foods that taste better that are similar, like butternut squash. I think can be used in pretty much every way that a sweet potato can be used, except for maybe a few important things. But just in general, as far as being orange and soft and sweet. But I think it's less sweet in a way that's good.
Yum.
And pumpkin. Like, I want, even though I don't even like the pumpkin spice latte, I want to have one pumpkin spice latte this year. I do not think that anyone wants to have a sweet potato spice latte.
No.
But here's my evolving thought about sweet potatoes. I actually think that I might like to try making a sweet potato pie. Because I love pumpkin pie, but I've been let down by pumpkin pie so much because the texture can be wrong. Like, it can be like too loose or like kind of weirdly spongy, or just it can be like not right. And I think sweet potatoes actually have a better density to make like a consistently good, thick orange, flavorful pie filling. And my mom always makes sweet potato pies because that's like her family's tradition, because it's like a southern thing. And I've always kind of like, I always liked her pies, but I still always was like, it's all about pumpkin for me, just because I really like pumpkins. But I'm coming around to the idea that sweet potatoes might actually make a superior pie.
I'd have to try a side-by-side trial.
Yeah. I know that you were super betrayed when you realized that most of the canned pumpkin is some, like, it's like a squash, not necessarily like the pumpkins.
Well, the pumpkin pie that you get from the store is not usually made from pumpkin, right?
Well, I think it's a different kind of it's like a delicata squash or something like that. It's
but
just
they can't sell that.
Well, it's just that actual...
Come get your delicata squash pies, everybody.
Actual pie pumpkins, I feel like, make like a yellower, less delicious pie sometimes. I like it to be nice and thick and just like the right...
But pumpkin cheesecake is good. You've made that a lot.
Yeah, no, my pumpkin cheesecake is really good. I'll definitely make that again. I've been thinking about sweet potatoes more, I think, because I've been getting, well, two things. I've been getting more and more interested in kind of looking into like more like traditional family foods of like, you know, ancestors seems like such a distant word, but just like, you know, family of slightly gone by times. Like, I've been kind of interested in looking into more different, like, traditional family recipes and making sure I'm, like, keeping those things alive. And then also, since we do have, like, a young toddler and I have to make him a lot of different soft foods, I have been baking sweet potatoes for him a lot.
Can't believe he's a toddler.
I know. I mean, he's still such a baby to me.
But he's, like, climbing the walls now.
It's really frightening because he can climb really well, and now I can't...
Very quickly.
I cannot even go around the... I'll go around the corner and...
I turn my back and I peek over and he's, like, hoisting one leg up on the couch, and it's like...
I know, he's dancing on the back of the couch. He's, like, climbing up the, like... whatever you want to call the, like, structure of the egg chair. And it's really terrifying.
Yeah.
But he will always be a baby to me.
Of course.
I mean, at some point I'll probably have to admit that he's, like, bigger, you know, like... One day he's going to be, like...
I feel like no matter how old he gets, he's always going to be the baby of the family, though.
That's true. And, I mean, I'm sure he'll either really like that or he'll, like, really resent that.
I think he really likes it.
He likes it right now. But I'm just saying, I'm just wondering, you know, as he gets older, is he going to be like, oh, it's great, I'm the baby of the family, everyone adores me? Or is he going to be like, oh, it's so hard because everyone always sees me as a baby no matter how old I get? You know?
Seaweed's always greener in someone else's leg.
But you know what I mean? Like, when our oldest is, like, 20, we're going to think,
yeah,
my goodness, you're so old, how are you 20? When our youngest is 20, we're going to be like, oh, he's so little, he's only 20. Look at our oldest being, like, you know, in his 30s. Like,
right.
Just, it's always the perspective
he's always,
shift.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
Just due to perspective, he's always going to seem so little. But hopefully he'll like it because everyone thinks he's fabulous.
Yeah, I it's hard for me to see that as much of a burden, but I mean, oldest children have, you know, their own challenges too, I feel.
They do. I mean, each place in the birth order has its own set of challenges.
There's no part that's exempt. You know, they all have their own. Middle children have their own issues too, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yes, we do. But
yes, we do currently. Yes.
No, but I do think that probably everyone in the wherever you are in the birth order, you're either going to think it's awesome or it's terrible.
I mean, it can be like both at different times.
Yeah,
know, depending on the situation.
I generally think that being in the middle is terrible, but I'm able to see certain nice things about it. I mean, like, I do think it's very terrible in most ways, but I do like that I'm like, I feel like I'm able to have, like, a, like, significant relationship with both my older sibling and my younger sibling, and that's kind of nice. and I'm not as, like, distanced by age from either of them as they are from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I do see that with our kids, too. I mean, as they age, I'm sure that there will, you know, be changes, but I feel like it's interesting to see how different siblings within the sibling group, you know, gravitate towards each other at different times or seem closer, or how the age difference seems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right now, the age difference, even though all of our kids are evenly spaced, to me, the age difference between the youngest and the second youngest seems the most vast.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Whereas I feel like the next two seem pretty close in certain ways, but then the oldest two seem pretty close in certain ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
But then, I mean, the ones that are much older than the littlest one, of course, that's exciting for them in a different way. Because, like, it's, you know, they love how, like, tiny and cute he is, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like there's more, like, tensions and jealousies with, like, the two youngest, because it's, like, they're actually both, like, little, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all little, but you know what I mean? They're little in a different way.
Yeah.
But I did dress him in his Halloween pajamas for tonight in celebration of filming, or not. I would say filming. I realize that we're not on camera. But the Halloween pajamas are looking a little tight in the feet. You know, like...
Is this all 4 kids or no?
No, I think I might have even just bought these for him last year. And so that's why they're really, really too small now.
Yep.
They're barely, like, I was actually kind of surprised that you were able to, like, shoehorn these onto his frame.
It was, I mean, it's pretty tight.
They were a little
tight
too big
situation.
last year, but they're
not too big this year.
Like, I'm surprised he's not coming out the bottom somehow, or his shoulder's not, like, coming out the neck hole like it does when pajamas get really, really too small. This fabric was kind of stretchy. I think that's the only way that we're making this work. But I really hope I can find cute Halloween pajamas this year again for the kids. Like, because that was always my tradition, that I would always buy them, like, cute matching Halloween pajamas. And in the last couple of years, I just didn't see any that I actually liked enough to buy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I bought these for him, but I just didn't see, like, any for the older kids that looked cute.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope this year things will be different, especially because they really need pajamas. So I'm going to have to get something, whether it's Halloween themed or not, but it would be more fun if it's Halloween themed.
Totally. I like the pumpkin in the middle of the chest on these.
The pumpkin in the middle of the chest is cute. I like the feet, though. The little feet look like jack-o'-lanterns.
Yes.
And that's yes. It's a yes for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do love getting the matching holiday pajamas.
But you said there's some pajamas that Cap can fit and Kingsley.
Yes, some of the brands of pajamas that I was previously
Which
getting
is kind of
for all the
amazing
kids,
given the age difference.
Yeah, there are some that you can't really get matching ones because the kids are in different sizes, you know, because we've got somebody still that could be in baby sizes or toddler sizes. There's sometimes some crossover. And then we've got a couple that could be in toddler sizes, but then also could be starting to get into, like, the smaller children's. And then at the upper end, we have people that definitely cannot wear toddler sizes anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard because you can't always get all those sizes in, like, a good pajama matching. But I found a few brands that I think I can make this work. So I'm psyched to put it together. And I think that Cap's going to be really excited to match with him. Because, well, I think especially because, you know, I will often buy the girls matching clothes.
Yeah.
And I did used to sometimes just get the oldest two matching stuff, like things that were sort of neutral or whatever. But anymore, since, I mean, they're different sizes and everything, I more match the girls. And so I think that he'll be excited to be able to, like, match with his baby brother.
Mm-hmm.
I am, like, low-key devastated about Halloween costumes this year, though. Like, not really, but... So, you know that every year I'm a witch.
Yeah.
And every year I kind of think, you know, maybe I should try harder to get a different costume. But honestly, I just feel good and excited in my witch's hat and I enjoy the fact that I already own it, because I really want to put all my energy into helping the kids get their costumes, unless I have, like, if I had somewhere that I was going, like, for, like, a personal, like, adults Halloween party or something, maybe I would put a little more into it. But just for my own purposes, I feel very good in my witch's hat. And I have really enjoyed having the little girls be witches pretty much every year for, like, a while now. But this year, Emerald has announced that she would like to be a wizard. Which is kind of startling. I mean, it's sort of startling because I feel like a wizard is similar to a witch. But I'm pretty sure, because I've talked to her about this a lot, that when she's talking about a wizard costume, I think she means, like, the sort of, like, blue velvet robe and big pointy hat with, like, the yellow moon and stars, like, pasted all over it. You know, like, sort of like the... I'm picturing in Fantasia, like, the Sorcerer's Apprentice, like, the wizard from that. I think that's what she's envisioning. It's unclear to me, like, where did she get this idea? And, like, what is it about it?
She doesn't ever talk or think about, as far as I know. I mean, apparently she does. Wizards. And, I mean, I guess she likes Harry Potter, sort of, but...
Does she?
I
don't think she does.
Okay, whatever. Well, that's even stranger then. Where is she getting this wizardry from?
Well, and also Harry Potter isn't the same kind of wizard that she wants to be. Because the Harry Potter wizard is more like a witch, but they just call them wizards.
Or a warlock.
Although I feel like warlock is only used by people that are, like, trying to get Harry Potter taken away for, like, religious reasons. I'm trying to get Harry Potter taken away, but for purely non-religious reasons. That's totally
just on general principle.
No, I mean...
J.K. Rowling has gone too far?
J.K. Rowling has gone so far that I feel uncomfortable, like...
She's done too much. She could just be quiet and everyone would just assume the best, I assume.
I was never super into Harry Potter, which always was weird to me. And, of course, now I could maybe claim that I had some sort of intuition or something. But, like, I don't know. Maybe I did. I was never super into Harry Potter.
I think.
Yes.
It's very foreshadowing.
Well, and the racism and just the general... Yeah. There were a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I was never super into it, but I never quite identified what about it didn't appeal to me, because everything about it seems like something that I should love.
Boarding school. Magic.
Yes, like boarding school, magic, witches, magical spells, chocolate frogs, like that all sounds like something that's like exactly something that I would like.
Yep.
And I never quite hit for me as well as I felt like it should. But I had always just sort of planned, since I didn't ever get really into it, that I would get into it when we had kids, because I figured, you know, even though for whatever reason it didn't hit for me, I assumed they would like it, and so I was kind of like just planning to get into it when they did. But now I really don't want to, because not only am I super grossed out by J.K. Rowling now, but also through the lens of being super grossed out by her, it's now really allowed me to then think about all the other things that are like off about it, like the Sorting Hat and the racism and the sexism and just like the many, many general problems about the general, like, secret, but, like, not so secret worldview that the creator has that you can really see showing through in the material.
Yes.
But it is disappointing. Like, not in the way where I think it might be disappointing for people who, like, truly loved that series and that universe and are now devastated. But disappointing just because, like I said, I was sort of planning to get into it with our kids, and now I'm like, let's just not.
Forget it.
Yeah, there's other things that are cool.
Yep.
But yeah, so I don't know where she got the idea that she wants to be a wizard. She just announced this, I don't know, a couple months ago, and she's mentioned it several times since then. And you know that when Emerald has a plan or an idea, she sticks with it.
Yes.
So I definitely think that the wizard costume is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely will make it happen for her, because I'm not gonna force her to do the matching costumes that she doesn't want to do, and then she won't like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I will just be like secretly, silently, personally devastated because I loved wearing matching costumes with the little girls.
Yeah.
Also, And this is something that I never did because I feel like it's weird to dress your kids as costumes that they themselves wouldn't know what they're dressed as. But I have also thought it would be so great if we dressed her and Lilac as the sisters from Practical Magic, which is obviously like not a children's movie and not a movie they've seen. But okay, we have a redhead and a brunette, so like we've got Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock right there. Like, how can we not do this? I'm just saying.
You're blinded by the hairs.
They won't know what they are, but I would know. And it would be fantastic.
True.
We could also...
Are you imagining them thanking you later when they finally see the movie and love it just as much as you do?
Or just, like, my own personal enjoyment.
You don't even care about that?
No, I don't know. I also feel like if we could just get Kingsley, like, a wig, we could probably pull off the Sanderson sisters from Practical Magic. Or not Practical Magic, Hocus Pocus.
Mm.
Because, okay, we've got the red hair once again.
Yeah.
We've got the brunette. We just need someone to be Sarah Jessica Parker, but I feel like Kingsley would agree to do that. Mm-hmm. He might not thank us later. No. Like, depending on who he turns out to be, he might not think that was so funny.
His therapist might thank us later for the new wing they were able to add to their vows.
I don't think it would be that dramatic to, like, briefly wear a Sarah Jessica Parker costume as a small masculine child.
Possibly.
I'm not going to make him do that. I'm just saying we could easily win Halloween if we put this together in the right way.
I see what you're saying.
I also think we need to kind of steer Cap into picking a costume that's, like, going to bring him happiness and success.
I think Ninja Turtle is a good direction.
It's just, I know that he really wants to be the Monkey King, but if he does that, no one's going to be able to identify what his costume is.
If we were in China...
Even then...
No, I think...
How would you communicate the monkey aspect of it? Because I think you could dress in, like, the clothes that the Monkey King would wear, but then how do people know you're not just, like, a samurai or something?
You might need a little bit of a budget to make it work.
Well, it's kind of like how I thought about trying to make him a werewolf costume a few years ago, and then I realized it was going to be more complicated than I thought, because basically you need the clothes, like the sort of... I feel like werewolves always somehow in costume are wearing like a lumberjacky type outfit. Like, it's like you need like a buffalo plaid shirt, but then you need the werewolf coming out from beneath it. Mm-hmm. Similarly, he would basically need a monkey costume, but then also the monkey costume needs to then be able to be wearing the, like, you know, antique fighter outfit.
Yes.
But I don't think that, first of all, that's outside of the budget that I usually like to set for Halloween costumes. And second of all, I don't think that most Americans are going to recognize it. And no. I feel like people will just ask him what he is, and he will feel disappointed and not awesome.
It'll end in, not good.
But I feel like if we just can get him to, like, surge into the store and get a Ninja Turtle mask, I think that he will actually have a better time. He'll have a much better time
with that. I don't think he would object to that at all.
No, I don't think he would. It's just we have to, like, steer him in that direction.
I think that would be fairly easy to do.
I think it would be too. It's just, sometimes kids get like elaborate ideas about their Halloween costumes, and it's like you want to make all their dreams come true, but also I would not like to spend like $300 constructing a costume that's going to end in like him sobbing at the end of the night. So
I think I just need you to tell me what to be.
I mean, you just need to
I'm going to object if I don't want to, but
I feel like you've objected to every really exciting costume idea I've had for you.
Would you like to be more specific?
I just think it would be super fun if you could be something that complements a costume that, like, the children are wearing. So, for example, Emerald is being a wizard. Could you be, like, a crystal ball or, like, a cauldron or something? Why
can't I just be my own thing?
Don't you want be part of like a partner costume.
Your ultimate dream is to do a group partner costume.
Yes. Okay, a nice simple partner costume that I've thought of before that our
That
family
is not
could do
one of my
like,
dreams.
What about like the weather? We could each be a weather element. The problem is that the kids want to be something cool. Like no one wants to be like, I'm a rain cloud for Halloween. But think how fun it would be.
Yes.
I could be the rain cloud. Someone could be like
I would be willing to make that sacrifice for the
no,
group costume.
I actually think the rain cloud costume would be so fun because I could get like a lot of like really puffy cloud material around me, but then also I could have some like clear threads hanging from my arms with like little like crystal raindrops. So then as I can move around, the raindrops would like go.
Incredible.
And then Kingsley would be a bolt of lightning because then when I'm holding him, the bolt of lightning would just be like hanging out in the rain cloud, which makes a lot of sense.
And who would I be?
What element of weather do you think you sort of naturally lean towards? I feel like, okay, so if we've got the rain cloud and the lightning covered, we need someone to be probably just a sun, and we need a rainbow. And then we need something like, you know, wind or like a storm or something. Could you be wind?
Why can't I be a rainbow?
I know you love rainbows, but I feel like the little girls would probably want to be the rainbow. Like if we're trying to like entice people to be certain costumes, I think we could. I feel like I could entice one of the little girls to be a rainbow probably more easily than I could entice them to be like the wind.
So I get to be the wind.
You could be the sun.
Okay.
And then I feel like Cap might want to be like the wind.
Sure.
Or like if he could be like more of like a storming element, I feel like he would like the idea of being something kind of like powerful and a little bit dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I'm just saying, like, but you tend to not want to do the Halloween costumes that I've tried to. I remember at one point I tried to get you to do a group costume together with me and our dog, where why are you looking at me like that? This would have been awesome.
Tell the people.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All that I wanted to do was to construct a sort of a typical looking like flying saucer, like UFO type of thing. And then our legs we'd probably just wear black shoes and pants because they wouldn't be part of the costume. But then we would have the flying saucer around our waists. So it looks like we're sticking up out of the top, and we would be wearing like just like funny like alien costumes. Mm-hmm. Like I'm thinking like green and like multiple eyeballs, like a funny like fun aliens, you know?
Yeah.
And then we would just have made our dog's leash look like it was like a beam, like a tractor beam coming out of the spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
So then it would look like we were like aliens like abducting him.
Mm-hmm.
This would have been a great costume. I also remember once suggesting that we be like various M&Ms.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, it's not that I like desperately wanted to be M&Ms, but it would be easy to do because all you would need to do is like basically paint like a big colorful circle, and then you just need to wear like white gloves and black shoes. But I think when I mentioned the white gloves and the black shoes, you were out.
Yeah. I was out way before then. That definitely didn't help. Didn't bring me back closer.
It would have been a good time. We totally could have like won a costume contest. And it would have been awesome and it would have been so worth it. But more seriously though, I'm actually just fine being a witch again.
Yeah.
And I feel like you just need to find your thing. Like, just, you know, a vampire or a warlock or, you know, just like find your thing, something simple that you feel good in, but that you can just sort of easily be.
I'll think about it.
I mean, I think just like something where you just need a few key pieces to sort of communicate what's happening with your look is generally the way to go. But The other thing that I'm super excited about for the fall is that the new school year is starting.
Totally.
And, you know, we homeschool year-round.
Mm.
I still look at the fall as the time to sort of refresh our school year and start...
Sure.
And officially start, like, the next grade. Even though I don't wait for that, like, line necessarily to start all the new things. Like, there's some things that are just, you know, we're still doing. And there's other things that, you know, we finished early and then start at the next level. So I don't make it where it's like we have to start the next thing, you know, or not start the next thing until the thing. But I do still like to have that point where we, like, mentally are like, okay, now we're starting our year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good for the kids probably to have that, like, the excitement of being able to, like, feel like they're starting a new school year.
Totally.
And, what are you looking forward to for us, like, this year?
I really want to get her Emerald's guitar going again, and I want to do more with piano. Music, and I also want to try to find a mandolin.
Ooh.
Because I think that could be a fun instrument for us to learn.
Oh, yeah.
It's only got 4 strings. It's pretty small. I feel like she could probably handle it.
Yeah, I mean, she liked the mandolin that we saw when we were learning about different instruments, and she liked that the mandolin is, like, can play all the songs that a violin can play.
Yes.
She thought that was cool. So she would, I mean, Emerald will be excited about any instrument you suggest to her, probably.
Totally. But I want to learn it, so it would be fun to learn it with her.
No, I think that would be cool, and I do think, like, focusing more on guitar lessons would be good, too.
Yes.
Because I think she's been missing that. We've kind of slacked off on that over the summer.
We have.
But we can, like...
But with the new school year,
it's a good chance to be, like,
refresh.
rededicate ourselves to things that we've...
We already know we want to do it, so...
Yeah, and so just anything that we've kind of not put our focus into that we're like, oh, hey, this is important to us.
Yeah.
It's a good time to focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it is for me. The start of the school year is just the time to be intentional about, you know, remember our goals, remember the things we want, and, like, lean into those things.
100%.
And I'm also just, like, kind of like a homeschooling curriculum nerd, so, like, I get excited about just, like, all the new books and, like...
Well, you found some good writing programs, I thought.
I did. Well, I got a few writing programs. That's one of the areas that I feel like is going well, but, like, that needs more attention this year. Because with our oldest, you know, getting to be, like, 4th grade this year, that's kind of, in my mind, like, a different level as far as, like, now it's time to make sure that your writing is kind of at a certain point, whereas in earlier years, I've kind of not pushed writing really hard, which maybe sounds funny since you are a writer professionally. But I've not pushed writing super hard because I never wanted to push writing too much in a way where it then makes people not like to do it or think that it's unfun or that they hate writing or something. Also, I feel like to be a good writer, you do need to know how to read pretty well. Mm-hmm. So I kind of feel like in earlier years, it's good to focus on learning how to read more.
Yeah.
But now it's like the transition point where I feel like, okay, upper elementary, you really need to kind of be figuring out really how to write just at a little bit of a higher skill level than you have been. Because, of course, then I'm thinking forward to, you know, by the time you're in middle school, you want to be writing at a certain level. So that then by the time you're in high school, you can write at a certain level. So that then, you know, by the time you're in college, you can write at a certain level. I mean, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, so that's one of the areas that I'm kind of focusing on this year is, like, building those writing skills up a little bit more. And I've tested out, I got a program last year that I wanted to use, and then I ended up shelving it for most of the year, and then I pulled it back out just in the last couple of months, and we've been using it, and it's gone pretty well, but I'm really undecided if I want to continue to invest in that program or just use some other supplementary materials that I've also gotten for this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, so if you want to get into, like, super detailed or whatever, I don't know how interested you are in this topic.
Go for it.
I mean, I always feel strange talking to you about writing since you're, like, a professional writer. I always feel like I'm like, what does Rob think? Like, how do you think people should be learning how to write? But the program that I got that we've been using these just over the summer really is when I pulled it back out and we've almost finished the first level is a classical education approach. So, and I really like classical education. I would say it's not my primary influence as a homeschooler, but it's one of my dominant influences, and like more and more so over time as I've kind of figured out who I am as a homeschooler. It's very important to me. Like, it works for me. But I'm not entirely sold on it, like, as a writing curriculum or maybe for this particular student. I'm not totally sure if this is the way we're going to continue. Mm-hmm. So with the classical approach, I feel like it's academically very rigorous, but not necessarily in composition. Like, I'm wanting to pull in, like, the resources that you were mentioning are the two things I showed you today, I think, which are just various, like, workbooks that I got that are very focused on just, like, how to compose a sentence and a paragraph and how to plan, because you're working towards being able to make, like, a 5-paragraph essay and, like, so forth. And I've just been sort of feeling the call to really make sure that he's solid in those skills. Mm-hmm. Whereas with the classical approach, I think it's very slowly driving towards that, but it's driving in a really meandering way that I want to trust the process and not get frustrated. And I think it is really academically rigorous in other ways, like the way that it makes you think. Like, he's naturally very inclined towards language arts, but some of the exercises in this book have been challenging, which is kind of good. Which is good, I think, to stretch a little bit. But they're challenging not as far as like composition. They're more challenging just as far as like the way that they want you to think about things. Like, for example, a thing that we were working on today gives you like a parable. It doesn't give you like a whole story. It just gives you like the moral. Like, think of like a moral that you would read at the end of like an Aesop's fable. Mm-hmm. And then it wants you to restate that. Like, it doesn't really want you to restate it. It wants you to explain what it means in your own words. And then it wants you to pick an appropriate set of animals that you could use to generate an original fable to like illustrate that concept.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is actually, for, like, a young child, that's very challenging. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, first of all, some of the morals or fables or whatever that we're looking at are kind of vague in a way where even I had to kind of be like, what exactly does this mean? Like, I mean, a lot of them are, pretty clear. But there were a few, and I'm struggling now to think of an example, there were a few that I had to kind of take, like, a second look at and be like, what exactly are they trying to say here? Because there's a lot of them, so they're, like, more obscure than, like, the obvious ones that we all know.
Like what?
But that, I wish I had this in front of me, because now I can't. It's like I'm blanking. But there was just a couple that were like, what exactly do they want from us here? Mm-hmm. But then, so first you have to sort of understand what are they saying by this sort of obtuse statement. But then also picking an appropriate animal to illustrate it. 'Cause, like, and that's hard to explain, maybe, to a kid, is, like, we can't just pick a monkey because we like monkeys. It needs to be, like, a monkey because the character in this story is supposed to be naughty. Mm-hmm. And we can't just pick a bear because we like bears. It needs to be a bear because the bear is supposed to be strong but kind of, like, gruff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to pick, like, the layers of, like, thought that's kind of, like, more obscure than a lot of stuff that we do when we're working with more, like, modern materials. Mm-hmm. Because the classical education approach is very much about really engaging with, like, ancient materials and, like, training your brain in the same way that, like, ancient people would have, like, trained their brains.
Yeah.
And I do like it, but like I said, I feel like that's more almost for, like, logic and like general like deeper thinking, and less actually just like this will teach you how to compose good, fabulous sentences and paragraphs or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Do you see what I mean?
Totally.
But I'm still like, I'm on the edge. I think I want to continue with that and also add in some other resources and kind of see where we go from there.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to grow in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm super excited. I mean, of course, I'm excited for that because it's like new territory we're going into. But when it comes to things I'm revisiting, I'm really excited to be revisiting first grade, because first grade with, another one of our children is, I feel like, a fun age to teach.
Definitely. Because
you're finally starting to get into some like more academic work, but they're still young and fun in a way, That is like it's a really nice balance between like it's a little lighter, it's a little more, Although that's kind of dismissive to say it's lighter, because it actually is kind of intense when you're like teaching someone how to read and stuff.
It is.
But it's a level that I enjoy. Is I guess all I'm saying. I feel like different people like different things. Because I know a lot of people love teaching preschool, and honestly, for me, that's one of the things that I find more daunting about the coming school year, is that we have like a new student joining us at the table.
I probably enjoyed teaching first grade the most too.
Like first graders are just, they're excited.
I taught fifth
and
graders
curious.
and it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Altogether. But
preschoolers, what do you think about them?
I don't know. It's a lot.
It's challenging because
it's kind of like sensory overload for me or something. Like
for me,
I like first grade because it's like they can sit still a little better, but they're still like so like it's the sweet spot between like what I mean. They're not just getting there like in preschool and kindergarten and stuff, and it's like they've been in school for a minute, they're ready to like maybe take the next step into like reading and stuff. You know what I mean? Lilac spelled her own name the other day. That was exciting.
She did, but okay, I think the thing that's so challenging with preschool is that, well, homeschool especially, because, kids want to do what they see other kids doing. So it's like she's very eager, and that's wonderful. The eagerness to learn is there. But some of the eagerness is it's wanting to do what the other kids are doing, but some of that is just she's not capable of doing it. So I can't really just have her do the same, because to a certain extent, and this is something I've been cultivating more as I've leaned toward a more family style learning for some subjects, I've been combining our oldest two for a lot of things, subjects, not skill subjects obviously because they're working at two different levels, but as much as possible I've been combining them for content subjects like science and history. And I can still tweak things so that I'm, changing the assignments a little bit and also the expectations for what they're putting out to be appropriate to the levels that they are working at. But with a preschooler, she just wants to do exactly what the other people are getting to do. But a lot of it's just beyond her capacity. Mm-hmm. So there's frustration for her in that department.
Yeah.
And then on my end, as far as the activities that I'm targeting directly towards her, it's one of those things where I feel like a lot of people love preschool activities, and I find them hard to implement and somewhat overwhelming. Mm-hmm. I think because there's so many supplies needed.
Yes.
I feel like I'm always falling behind because I somehow don't have the supplies I need, and no matter how many supplies I buy, there's always just, each week, there's a new set of strange items that I need. And I don't mind having to get those things, but it just adds to kind of the chaos of trying to make sure I have everything. And then it's messy, and then I'm trying to, control the mess and have it not spread to the baby and the other kids, and it just feels like there's a lot of moving parts and pieces with preschool that I've in the past, I have not been happy with how well I've implemented preschool. And so I'm hoping that, I think as I have gained a better understanding of myself as a teacher and my sort of farther reaching goals, I actually do think I'm going to do better with this round of preschool than I did in the past.
Right.
So I'm optimistic, but it's more of like I'm a little bit apprehensive, but I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'm excited for it to hopefully go well in, different ways. Because I feel like I've often just, with preschool, when I've done it the other 2 times, I felt like once we got to, like, actual kindergarten, that's when things really picked up steam, but that preschool just, it didn't, we did a lot of good stuff, but it's never felt like I was totally satisfied with the exact way that I did it. And I mean, of course, when am I ever going to be totally satisfied with the exact way that I did something? You can always do things better. But it's like one of my areas where I'm definitely like, okay, this time I think I really can do it better, But what are your thoughts as, like, more of an observer looking at the homeschool, like, for, like, the new year, I just always feel like I'm talking and talking on the podcast, and, like, I really want to hear more from you.
I'm a good listener.
Uh-huh. You are a good listener, but, like, I do feel like it's good to, like, be in conversation sometimes, too. Like,
I never learned anything with my mouth open.
Interesting.
In fact, I'm probably going to cut out most of everything I say, of the little I do say.
Wow. That's very interesting. But if I just, like, stopped talking, would this be like, if you go to, like, a therapist and then you sit there and you don't say anything? Like, I'm picturing, like, Tony Soprano, like, sitting silently and, like, staring at, like, Dr. Melfi, and Dr. Melfi is just, like, looking back at him for, like, as the clock, like, slowly ticks.
I think people say the most interesting stuff after that awkward moment when they, like, feel like I should say something.
Wow. Is that your real secret interviewing?
Maybe I'm giving the game away a little too much right now, but
you just scare people into saying things.
It's not about scaring. It's just let's get rid of the script that you had in your mind that you were going to tell me. That's the first part. Mm-hmm. That's always the first part. Because, I mean, I ask you a question, your mind is, like, churning out the script. Okay, the script's done. What else do you have to say?
Wow. Okay, well, I will say that I have a lot of, like, hot takes about homeschooling.
Let's hear them.
First of all, and I feel like I've said this on the podcast before, but I think especially now that we're in the season where I'm, like, having to shop for, like, new items. Mm-hmm. Hot take. People who say that you can homeschool for, like, free or very cheap are, like, not doing it right. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think that it is possible to do a good job homeschooling without
It's just like cooking investment for yourself at home as opposed to getting food from a restaurant. You know what I mean? It's always like, if you just took 4 hours and boiled 12 potatoes, and it's like, I'm sorry, I'm working 3 jobs, and, like, I have to, like, eat at some point, and I don't have that, like the time investment, and, like, I can't shell out for, like, the bulk purchase, and it's like, you know what I mean?
Are you saying that, like, when people tell people that they can feed their family for, like, 97 cents a person per meal?
It's so condescending.
It's condescending because it discounts people having the time to cook.
Yeah, time is money. It
discounts people having the finances to get the ingredients, or I think the issue too, though, is, or it discounts people caring about nutrition, because like, I feel like a lot of where we spend money on groceries is just that we buy good food.
Yeah.
We could definitely save money if we were willing to,
There's a lot scarier food that we could buy.
If we were willing to eat, like, less quality ingredients, I think we could definitely, like, shave our grocery shopping bill down. Mm-hmm. But the same could be said for homeschool, like, and I have definitely found that there are some exceptions where, you know, you can get like a cheap workbook or something to like what I was talking about with writing, like how I was saying I wanted to pull in some resources that I had showed you recently. Those were like inexpensive workbooks that I think will be really good for the goals that I have for them. So that's an exception. In general, I have found that just like buying cheap ingredients is going to end up, you know, you're going to cook something that's like not going to be as good.
Mm-hmm.
Buying cheap homeschool curriculum and supplies is going to end up not working as well.
Yeah.
You know, either you'll
pay in the end more.
You'll pay in the end. I mean, it's kind of like how for years I tried to avoid having to buy one of the like super incredibly, I still think kind of ripping offly expensive reading programs to teach people how to read. Instead, I spent probably an equal amount of money just spread out over time, piece by piece, getting various pieces of things that, like, ultimately I was able to combine to work probably 75% as well as once I actually bought just, like, a good reading program. It's like, oh, well, you know, even though I feel like this was very expensive, it's, like, worth it because it's really not that much more than, like, when you've pieced together something. Plus, if you actually imagine any sort of monetary value being attached to your time, like the time that you spend piecing things together versus how much would you, like, if you were making a salary to do the piecing together and then you paid yourself, would you be losing money doing this versus if you just bought the thing, is one way of looking at it. Of course, that's only if you have the luxury of buying the thing versus, you know, if you have more time than money, I guess it could be worth it to piece something together. But even then, I feel like sometimes it's just not going to work. Like, a lot of cheaper workbooks and things just are educationally less good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think you really have to, like, invest in not only curriculum, but also supplies. That's the other thing. Like, you can't spend all of your budget just being like, okay, I bought the curriculum and now I don't have to buy anything else. There's always going to be more supplies.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's also true, you know, there are supplies that you need if you're sending your kids to school outside of your home, too. Mm-hmm. Whether it's supplies that you have to buy from a supply list at the beginning of the year, or just supplies that they need for whatever projects they have to do throughout the year, or just, like, the general, like, clothes and, like, whatever else that you need to do, and, like, lunches and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's always a cost. But I do get irritated with people that are like, all you need is a library card. Because I feel like, no.
Yeah, it's like Lucille Bluth, like, what could that cost Michael? $20? Or whatever she said.
Exactly.
Like, people just don't consider, like, what the actual costs are to, like, making this stuff, like, work by yourself, because you're doing it all from scratch, you know, and it's like you're doing things that you would rely on a school to do, you know what I mean? If you were sending your kids to a school, like, this is why people send their kids to a school, so they don't have to think about these, you know what I mean? Like would they just, like, oh, the school provide the materials and the books and the, you know what I mean, like, all the infrastructure. It's
and of course it's something that we want to do, and it's like a privilege and
100%, and
something that I'm very, like, happy to be able to do. But it's just, like, it is a significant investment of time and money.
Yeah, it's not free in any way.
And I also think that there are people that maybe are doing it with just a library card, and I worry that those people are doing it poorly. Because I don't see a way that you could be doing it.
They're definitely doing it poorly.
I don't see a way that you could be doing it right.
We are on the upper end, I guarantee you, of people that are doing it.
I mean, I definitely, like, of course, I look at, like, influencers and stuff, so of course I'm always seeing people that are also doing it at, like, a high level, but, like, I know there are people that are not doing it.
You're not seeing the general population.
No, I know that there are people out there that are super not doing it the way that they should be.
I think you would feel a lot better about yourself if you could just have a window into everyone else's experience. I'm sure.
No, but it's just, like, I do worry, too, because even though I feel like I thrive in a lack of oversight, so I'm like happy that we live in a state where we don't like have anyone breathing down our necks. I do worry
it's a little concerning for society, but
yes, no, it's great for me.
It's wonderful personally. But on a macro level,
it is concerning because I know that there are kids who are probably
people are losing out.
Yeah, who are losing out, and I think that if you're going to homeschool, you're obligated to provide your kids with a rich education.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you don't have to be rich to do that, but you do have to have some kind of resources to invest.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's, like, one of my hot takes is that, like, if you think you can do it super cheaply, you're not doing it right.
Mm.
I have an even hotter take that I feel like if I had any, like, homeschooling friends, which I currently don't really have a homeschooling community, so it's really fine, but if I did, I feel like I would lose them with this hot take because it's so hot.
Wow.
So, as I'm sure you know, there's, like, obviously a huge distinction that a lot of homeschoolers make between being a secular homeschooler or being some sort of faith-based or religious homeschooler.
Mm.
There's a huge divide, obviously, because, like, you either are one or the other. You know, in general, that's what people think.
Mm.
And that's how all the curriculum that's, you know, targeted to homeschoolers, it's definitely all either targeted to one or the other. And many homeschoolers are very, very, like, set on, like, they only want curriculum that is targeted for whichever category they have decided that they belong to. Here's my hot take, though. I think that you can be a secular homeschooler and still use religious homeschooling materials.
Hallelujah.
Exactly. And see, the thing is that there are plenty of religious homeschoolers who are using secular homeschool materials, and they don't see any problem with it.
Mm.
Some of them, like, there are some people that are religious, like families of faith, that totally use secular materials because, you know, they have reasons that they want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people who call themselves secular homeschoolers, a large part of their identity as homeschoolers is on absolutely making sure that none of their materials are at all materials of any sort of faith or faith-based curriculum maker.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where there's, like, homeschooling groups that you can be in, like online, like on, like, Facebook groups for, like, homeschooling in general or for specific secular homeschooling curriculums.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them, their rules are, like, you are not allowed to even say the name of or mention any faith-based curriculums.
Wow.
So, like, for example, let's say, and this is, I'm going to give you an example that I've encountered in real life. In a Facebook group for a curriculum that is secular.
Uh-huh.
But, like, people go to the group to talk about other stuff that they're doing because there's, you know, supplements or other subjects that they're getting or whatever, you know. People will have to say things like, let's say somebody posts and says, I'm loving this language arts curriculum, and I'm just hoping to find something that's a great fit for my family for math. What are you guys all doing for math?
Mm.
And let's say someone who's using a non-secular math curriculum is commenting. They would be like, well, we're really happy with our math curriculum, but it's from a source I'm not allowed to mention. And, like, literally, like, no, you will be kicked out of the groups, like, if you mention a non-secular source. And I understand it.
Wow.
I understand. I understand.
Why do you understand that?
Okay. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying I understand the heart of where it's coming from, which is secular homeschoolers are such a minority that if you're a minority, sometimes I think the idea to create a space where you're not the minority by, like, being like, we will dominate this space and this is a space where it's totally safe for us and we will finally not be bombarded with people suggesting this thing that we are against. I understand that like, where the heart of that, and it's not entirely wrong, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Except that, here's my hot take on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that educationally, your children potentially lose out if you fixate so hard on the idea that because a curriculum is outside of your identity, either as a family of faith or as a secular family, that you couldn't use it. That you wouldn't use a resource that would be the best resource for your child or for your family, or that might be the best and or really only resource for the particular thing that you're trying to accomplish in your homeschool. For example, if you want to teach Latin, you will be hard-pressed to find any resources that are fun and easy to implement and successful for many people and inviting to children that are not produced by a faith-based curriculum company. So if you have decided that you're a secular homeschooler, do you give up on teaching Latin even though you think that that would have value in your homeschool because you can't find a non-secular curriculum? Or do you find something that's really not suitable and is not going to be as good and use it just because it's secular? So that's my hot take, is that people who stick too hard to the camp that they feel like they're in are actually hurting their homeschools, and that people should be more flexible to choose the materials that their family needs. The same thing could be said for homeschoolers of faith who will only use faith-based products.
Well, yeah, obviously,
I mean, but that I didn't focus on that because I think that the problems with that are more clear. I mean, because like science and things like that, where like your homeschool is suffering. But that's of course more my opinion, just in like what you should be learning. Whereas I'm more talking in the general sense of like whatever it is that you think would be good for your kids to learn, and whatever it is that your kids need to learn. I'm saying having the flexibility to actually just use the best resources is what you need to do if you're actually prioritizing academics. And the learning of your child versus the ego of creating a world that is totally inside of your own like preferences. Is I guess my hot take. But yes, I feel like that's like probably my hottest take because people don't want to hear stuff like that. I don't feel like that should be a hot take. I don't feel like it should be either, but I honestly do think that I would lose the fictional homeschooling friends that I could have if I like told them
You're so this. Fictionally canceled right now.
I know.
But why? That's so like harsh. I mean, you can self-edit too, can't you? Like, or you can like play up the parts that, I mean, isn't that what being a homeschooling person is all about? You get to pick and choose like what you emphasize and what you don't. Like,
well, and that's why like that is one
to reject materials out of hand just because it's like it's not out of the box exactly what you would want it to be. You know?
One of the reasons that some families of faith choose to use secular materials is that then they can incorporate their own family's faith in the exact way that is personally right to them versus just glomping onto materials of faith that might be made by someone of a different faith than you or who has a different take on things or whatever. So I think some people who are very faithful do choose to use secular materials so that they can put their own thing into it, and I respect that a lot. And as I'm saying, you also can use materials that don't fully align with you, and you can cut things out. You can whittle things away.
Of course.
You can also consider the idea that just because something doesn't fully align with your family's beliefs doesn't mean that it wouldn't be beneficial for your children to learn about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a hard concept for some people.
It is, because people are afraid that if you learn about something, then you might adopt it. Mm-hmm. But I actually think that if you really want your children to be strong in whatever convictions...
That's how the devil gets in your house.
Yes, I'm sorry, I let them in. But if you really want your children to be strong in whatever convictions are important to you, it's not about the losing battle of shielding them from possibly ever experiencing other things. It's about actually strengthening their feelings and their knowledge of the things that you think are worth them, like, investing their focus in, and also learning about what else is out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, it's has it ever been successful to just completely conceal knowledge of things from someone so that they could never, like...
I mean, not since the internet existed, surely.
I'm just saying, I mean, this is like people who want to hide the knowledge of the fact that there are trans people out there from their kids.
They're so terrified.
Because the fear is that, like... Or I guess the dream is that somehow if they could stop their children from knowing that there are trans people, then their kids could just definitely not be trans. But, like, we've already proven that's wrong. I think there have been millions of trans people who've not known about trans people until they, like, met themselves, you know? So,
of course.
It's never worked.
The same thing with gay, lesbian. I mean, down the alphabet.
I'm just putting that all under the same umbrella. It's like... Well, I mean, it's like the thing I heard somebody say about why it's ridiculous to, like, stop kids from reading books about gay people. Mm-hmm. It's like, and this was a gay man talking, and he was like, if reading books about straight people could make someone straight, I would be straight. I've read thousands of books about straight people, is what he said. So basically, you know, saying, because, like, people are like, oh no, if my kid reads a book about a gay character, then they'll want to be gay too. But it's like, no, it does not work that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, yeah, hiding information from people is not necessarily helpful. I definitely think it can be good to be thoughtful about what information you put into your kids' heads. Like, if you read a bunch of, like, super antiquated, like, racist books, studies have shown that kind of racism, even if when you encounter it in the text, you talk to your kids and are like, oh, that was racist and not cool, studies have shown that still does inform people's views of other people in, like, a negative way, and it does build racist ideology.
Yeah.
So I do think that there should be care taken in, like, what you expose your children to and how. I don't think that has to mean that you try to shield them from exposure to beliefs that aren't the, like, personally held beliefs of your specific family.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my super hot homeschooling take, I think.
I'm kind of stunned that that's, like, been taken to that level. But
You don't see why that's, like, a hot take. I just feel like people feel so personal about it.
I believe you. Just the whole thing about not being able to even mention...
Yeah, no, that's a common rule. Like, because I belong to, like, most of the curriculums that you use, or that we use, or that I implement with the kids or whatever, there are Facebook groups. Some of the curriculum that we use is secular, and some of it is not. And the secular curriculum groups do have rules that you will be kicked out if you mention any non-secular curriculum.
Mention.
Yes.
Not promote.
You cannot say the name of.
Wow, that seems a little Orwellian to me. I mean, like...
It is, because it's almost like you're being gaslit about, like, the reality of your situation.
You should be able to at least, like, acknowledge that it exists, right? I mean, that's, like...
Yeah, but no. Wow. And the same for, like, secular homeschooling groups, too. Like... You have
Can you
to
just
be like,
say that this thing, which I'm mentioning now, is a religious thing?
No, you'll be excised from the group if you do that.
You couldn't even, like, identify it correctly? Like,
no, I mean, some people try to, like, skirt around that by, like, saying, but not quite saying the thing. Like, okay, for example.
So weaselly. Like,
I know, and it's just, like,
talk. My goodness.
Yeah, and that's one way in which I feel like actually the religious curriculum groups are better, because I've never been in a religious curriculum group where they were like, we will throw you out if you mention using a secular curriculum. every secular curriculum group that I've been in is like, we will throw you out if you mention using a religious curriculum. Mm-hmm. But, like, okay, here's an example. There is a very popular curriculum that is faith-based, and part of the reason that it's very popular is that it's very affordable.
Yeah.
And very easy to access. So a lot of families use it because it's, like, just very usable. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, for a variety of reasons, many people use this curriculum. I've seen people in a secular curriculum group talking about this curriculum, and they can't say the name of the curriculum, so they'll try to say similar things to, like, imply that it's the curriculum that they're talking about. Okay, so the curriculum that I'm talking about is called The Good and the Beautiful. And people in the secular curriculum group will be like, we've been using this other curriculum, and I can't mention it here, but for us it's been very good, and my kids have been having a really beautiful experience with it. But it's like, you shouldn't have to go to those lengths to just say what your family's doing.
Goodness. I still think that was a brilliant marketing name on their part.
Oh, it was. But the thing is, like, I don't know if they just did that and then everyone's tried to copy them because everyone realizes how brilliant that was, or if it's just like the idea of homeschooling.
You literally can't say what it is without saying that it is good and beautiful.
It almost just gaslights you into thinking you need to have it, right?
Shit, this must be good and beautiful. Like,
but I do feel like other people understand that, because there are several other curriculums that have tried to do similar things. Like, for example, there's another curriculum that I've been looking at recently that's called Hearth and Story. And there's a curriculum that we actually use a lot of components of that's called Blossom and Root. I feel like they're all trying to, like, you know, it's like, but unfortunately The Good and the Beautiful's already taken. So no one else can achieve those heights.
No one's doing it like them at all.
There is, beyond just the incredibly, like, insanely good marketing behind that, there is actually, I think, you could make a legitimate case that you have, like, a compelling, like, actual reason to name the curriculum that, not just that it's like, we will suck you in. Because the idea is that you're supposed to expose your child to, you know, good and beautiful things in their education.
Who can argue with it?
Who can argue with that? But that's, like, a foundational principle that a lot of people, like, steer towards.
But
it's just right there.
Do you only find this sort of appreciation through a personal savior of some sort?
I don't think that's. I mean, are you saying?
Okay, let me ask in a more direct way. How prominent is the ideology in the material?
Not that prominent, honestly.
What makes it non-secular then?
It's definitely a thing.
But how does it manifest then?
Okay, well, actually, it's interesting because it's very divisive, because secular people are very against it because they say that it's like, you know, it's obviously like trying to suck you into the thing. But a lot of religious people are also against it because they say that it's watered down. They say that it's watered down and that it isn't direct enough about its message.
Wow. Stuck in the middle with you, good and beautiful.
And I mean, to be fair, there are many legitimate problems with some of the good and beautiful materials, but I think one problem that I've seen some people voice from the side of being like, we are only going to use the most religious materials and we don't consider the good and the beautiful to be religious enough, is that even though the good and the beautiful considers itself to be Christian worldview but not of any particular doctrine, its creator is Mormon, and Mormons don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Like, they see Jesus as a prophet, but they're not, like, they don't believe, I think, in the Trinity in the same way. And so some people whose belief in the Trinity is very central to their, like, what they hope to communicate as homeschoolers feel that there's a deficit in the Good and the Beautiful's materials in, like, specifically communicating the understanding of Jesus's role.
Interesting. I didn't realize the Mormons believe that.
So yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, there's people that are totally homeschooling for religious reasons that are not.
In the name Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Mormons consider themselves to be Christians.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just don't consider Jesus in this exact same way that other people do.
So they don't believe in the Holy Ghost?
I mean, I'm not gonna speak on this specifically because I think they do believe in the Holy Spirit. I think they do.
Well, what about I just don't understand. What about the Trinity do they not go for?
I think they do. I think that they would say that they do. I think it's just that people outside.
But you're saying that one of the criticisms of this material.
Yes, I'm saying that I've heard people from outside. I've heard like fundamentalist Christians say that they don't think that Mormons focus enough on Jesus. I think the real problem is that they feel that Joseph Smith has eclipsed Jesus
there it is. There's
in the Mormon
problem,
faith, and like they don't feel that anyone should ever eclipse Jesus.
Yes. Sure.
I think that's really what it's coming down to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But in The Good and the Beautiful, they never mention Joseph Smith. But they don't really mention Jesus that much either, I don't think.
So they're saying it's more like omission.
Yes, like they say it's watered down, and so you might as well just be using a secular curriculum. Because The Good and the Beautiful is more like... It says things like... Good and Beautiful mentions God a lot. And The Good and the Beautiful will, in like the materials where it's describing the lifestyles of, because it has a lot of story-based, like, now we're going to the orchard. The family will pray before they eat the meal. Or we're going to visit grandma and we're all going to church together. So it's more about, like, it builds the idea that, like, the child using it probably identifies with a faithful lifestyle, and it generally like promotes things that you would see as like good morals and like a beautiful look at the world as like this wonderful created place. But it doesn't, like, ever get specific and be like, Joseph Smith says that you should, like, do the thing. And I think what it is that some people feel like their material should be more specifically tailored to, like, whatever denomination that they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're Catholic and you're homeschooling because you're a Catholic, maybe you want to homeschool using specifically Catholic materials.
Uh-huh.
Whereas you would see The Good and the Beautiful as, like, omitting the important, very specifically Catholic beliefs that you are hoping to impart to your children. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I get it.
But, yeah, no, it's super interesting, and I feel like people get, like, a little too, like, stuck in their own areas about things.
I didn't realize it was that deep.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely that deep. I would say it's one of the most divisive issues in the homeschooling community. Is just like the general like.
I just feel like naturally self-editing is a thing no matter what materials you're using. You're not just gonna like. I don't think any material, maybe outside of math. I mean, maybe that's the one area you might just do whatever it says. But
but there are math curriculums that you might want to edit. But
oh no.
But
how filled with the Holy Ghost are these materials?
I mean, there are some interesting programs.
How can you shoehorn?
Well, okay, for example, there's one program that some people that seem a little bit more on the severe side use called Rod and Staff.
Oh no! and that's like the evil version of like Good the Beautiful.
I think. To be fair, I think Rod and Staff might be produced by like Mennonites or something.
Oh my!
It's just it's very like it's kind. I mean, it's kind of the opposite of The Good and the Beautiful in the sense that The Good and the Beautiful, one of its major selling points to people, both, secular and non, is that the materials themselves are very visually appealing and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Rod and Staff is more if you're looking for something that's, like, very basic and austere and sort of, like, if you want a curriculum that feels like if you, like, traveled to Colonial Williamsburg and went to, like, a schoolhouse, you could be using it. The Rod and Staff could be for you.
Okay.
So yes, it's kind of the opposite of...
Wow.
But I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Oh, yeah.
But still, I also think, though, that the idea of editing and of using the curriculum as a tool or a resource, not as, like, a fixed set of instructions, is something that I think takes a little bit of maturing as a homeschooler to come to.
Mm.
I mean, I definitely know that for me, my feeling of just, like, empowerment to use the curriculum the way I need to use it versus struggling to use it however it says to use it, even if maybe I need to make modifications, is something that, like, as I've grown as an educator, I've become more able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I definitely, when we were first starting out, felt like, okay, because most curriculum has some kind of thing, usually in the front where it tells you of, like, the instructor's guide, where it tells you, like, okay, here's how your school week should be laid out, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely had experiences in the beginning where there were certain things that I was trying to use following that exact set of instructions. And because I wasn't yet confident with myself in what I was doing, I feared that if I, veered off of that set of instructions, somehow I wouldn't be totally doing the material right, and then it wouldn't come out the way I needed it to or whatever. Whereas in actuality, I think being more flexible to use the curriculum the way that I need to, obviously, is better.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I do have some children, one child in particular that I'm thinking of, who is very rigid, and it's very hard to get if they suspect that there were things that the book thought they were supposed to do that we've decided to not do or to modify, that can be really troubling for them.
So if they can see the materials and understand what is in front of them, they will not allow that.
Well, okay, like, for example, one of the curriculums that I struggled with the first time I tried to use it was the spelling curriculum. That it's a 5-day program, so it's set up so you're supposed to be doing it every day. Mm-hmm. And it takes a certain amount of time, and it doesn't take a lot of time every day, but when you're doing it, it can be very grueling, and it can be it's just, for various reasons, it's better, I have found, to use it a few times a week. Mm-hmm. And or sometimes at certain point in a child's growth to do, like, half a lesson a day instead of, because it's the kind of program where, let's say there's, like, it's not a program where there's, like, 20 specific words that you're supposed to memorize. It's more a program where you're working on certain words, but, like, it wouldn't hurt you to just decide, okay, my child is going to spell 10 words a day, not 20 words a day. Mm-hmm. That wouldn't necessarily hurt their progress. Just, it's hard to explain why that is, but it's not like a traditional, like, memorization program. It's like a different thing. Mm-hmm. But when you have a child that's, like, still working on their writing, and, sometimes it's better to just be like, look, we're just going to write 6 of the words, not 12 of the words. But if they can see that there's, like, the 6 more boxes that are supposed to be filled in, it's hard to explain to them sometimes, I'm telling you, you don't have to do these.
Right.
But they're like, no, they're here, and I won't really have done my work if I don't do this.
Yes.
And so that can be challenging, but, I mean, that's kind of a side issue. But really, for the most part, I think the more I've felt confident in using materials the way that I actually need to use them to accomplish our educational goals versus just trying to make sure I follow the, like, imaginary way that the creator thinks you should be using it, the better.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that everybody thinks that you can just edit or naturally edit. I think a lot of people, especially, like I said, when you're coming into homeschooling, are just like, I just want something that's totally scripted, and I will just follow the script and it'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I suspect that might be true with people who started homeschooling kind of like emergently, like in the last couple of years, who hadn't thought about homeschooling or wanted to homeschool previously and were just like, oh no, how do I do this? Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, I will just follow the instructions.
Yeah.
So the idea that you could just look at the instructions and then modify for you or your situation or your child maybe is like, that's like...
Yeah, but they wouldn't have gotten into it for the same reasons we did. So, I mean, that's like one of the main points I feel like of doing it. Like just do it at whatever makes sense for you. You know, you don't have to follow the standardized script. This is why we're not in, you know what I mean, the institutional system.
Yeah.
Because it's like with that system, it's one size fits all, and that's just for volume reasons. It has to be that way, you know.
Of course.
And it like totally like stomps on everyone's like individual needs and creativity just because you've got so many people to deal with. So
very true. But anyway, I am excited for the fresh new school year.
Yeah.
I just always get so excited about like all the fun books that we're going to read.
Yeah.
And all the projects that I hope we're going to accomplish and just like all that, you know.
Yeah, I feel like you've exposed some loyalists among our ranks.
I know. Okay, because we're studying colonial times and I mean, the little kids, of course, are just kind of along for the ride, but like the two like elementary school students, you know, both have kind of come out on the side of the Brits here. Like, they both think that, like, I feel like all these materials, because, I mean, obviously, we live in the U.S., so obviously all the books and stuff that I'm getting are from a perspective of, like, hooray, the call to independence, you know, the call to fight for liberty. And I don't feel like it's quite landing for them. Like, I feel like they're both kind of just like, yeah, but why couldn't we just pay the taxes and on the tea and like, you know, because and I've tried to like explain like it's the taxation without representation that people...
It's the principle of the thing.
It's the principle that bothered people, and I've gone through, you know, showing them how it wasn't just, okay, the tea tax, we're angry, suddenly the Boston Tea Party, but I've tried to go through, you know, other things like the Stamp Act and like other things that happened where it was like people felt repeatedly that they were being taken from more than they were getting back in exchange. You know, I've tried to kind of show that it's like why people got to the point of frustration where they were willing to kind of make this radical break. And they're still just kind of like, nah. Like, they're still like, okay, because, like, one of them today was talking about, like, what they would do if they were, like, a child living in colonial times, and they were, like, talking about how they would drink a lot of tea, and so I was asking, like, would you continue on, you know, after, you know, the Boston Tea Party and after a lot of people were starting to protest? 'Cause we've read about how, you know, a lot of people stopped drinking tea on principle, were for financial reasons, and, you know, some people were drinking, like, herbal teas and other things instead of tea, or they were, like, saying, I shall take no tea. We're reading the American Girl books, and I'm reading the ones that go along with the historical time periods we're studying, and in the one that we're recently reading, the big drama of the book is that the girl Felicity is taking lessons, you know, learning, you know, society things, like she's working on her sampler and she's learning about how to host the tea party, but she's very nervous because she has decided that she wants to, like her father, because she knows that her father is no longer going to sell tea in his store, and she agrees with what he said about why, and she thinks that she wants to be loyal. She agrees with that, and also she just wants to be loyal to her father, you know, obviously. So she doesn't want to drink the tea, but she doesn't know how to, like, politely decline, and so it's, like, the drama of, like, is she going to just drink the tea, Or is she going to, like, take a stand, and how can she do that while also still having good manners? But the kids are just like, nah. Like, they're just like, she should just drink the tea. And so I did ask.
But they really have started to drink tea lately.
They have. Well, they love their tea parties. That's part of it. But anyway, I was asking the person that said that they would drink a lot of tea if they were a colonial child. I was like, would you still drink the tea after that? They were like, oh yeah, I would keep drinking it. But they also, yes, you're right. They love having tea parties, which is one of my successes because for years our kids didn't like tea. And I was like, why?
I think they've come around now.
Oh, yeah. Now they're, like, asking for it every day.
The lemon zinger.
It's that lemon zinger that gets everybody.
Yes.
But, no, now they're, like, super into having tea parties, which I feel like is just such a, like, delightful cliche, like, homeschooling thing. It's like we're all just, like, reading poetry and, like, drinking tea, but we are. At the best of times. Yes. Not all the time, but at the best of times we are. There's other times that are, like, not as good.
There's those moments, of course.
But yes, I think that they love the tea parties, and they also love the idea of, like, having a royal family and having, like, a king and a queen. Like, yeah. I mean they still play, like, dress up and like to wear, like, crowns and, like, robes and stuff. So I think the idea of not only refusing to, like, have the tea party, but also rejecting the crown and the robe and stuff to them, it's like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
And I was like, but if we hadn't done this, we wouldn't be our country now. We would just still be like a territory of Great Britain or something, probably.
Yeah. I never thought I'd say this, but where's Lynn Cheney when do we need her?
I know, no. Okay, so that was the startling discovery that I made recently. Actually, I've made a couple of startling discoveries recently if you want to talk about the magazine. But,
sure. No, it's a pattern.
Okay, so the Lynn Cheney thing that you're referencing is that I have decided that this year, since, I've already launched because I do launch certain things, as needed, as I mentioned before. We've already launched into our history that we're doing with U.S. history, and it's been going great. I've been enjoying it a lot. I decided that something that I'm starting now to implement is just a very, like, light, just kind of overview of the 50 states. But I want it to, it's a struggle to figure out when you're dealing with, like, maps and geography. How do you make this real to children? And so I'm looking for more resources because I don't want to make it like a huge giant study because we're going to revisit this later. But I do want to do just a general tour of the states so that the kids just have a general familiarity of, like, these are the states and this is kind of where they are and what's happening there,
Mm-hmm.
But so, in looking for materials, one of the frequently recommended, and I've come to see few, apparently, kind of living-seeming books out there about the states where it's like, something that would be maybe an appealing story format that you can kind of read through to give kids a flavor of the states, is written by Lynn Cheney. And for personal reasons, I haven't felt like I wanted to get that book. But I'm actually struggling to find good alternatives.
Just as she knew you would.
But this is where I mean, that's smart. Like, you see a void and you fill it, and I'm sure it's easier to get a publishing contract. Also, when you're Lynn Cheney, so it's like you just talk to somebody and are like, look, here's a void, and I will now be a successful author.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, but I think but you're right, it's a pattern because I also recently discovered. Well, tell about the magazine.
I don't. It's so going to be so hard for me to, like, explain. So we all know Mike Huckabee. We all remember him. His daughter is the governor of Arkansas currently. Previously Trump's spokesperson.
But I was very excited to tell you when I discovered that he is, like, I don't know if he has constructed this himself.
How much elbow grease did Mike Huckabee really do?
I think he's just like the spokesfigure for this, but he has a children's magazine.
Amazing. I never would have known that.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it's just like someone made this and then was like, hey, do you want to promote this magazine? But still, it's stunning. And not only is it like,
I was flabbergasted.
It's stunning enough that he has this magazine, but of course it's also a pyramid scheme.
Of course.
Because I found out about this because I was watching a video from someone who found out about it and then tried to get a hold of it. One of those, the general genre of, like, I will read this thing so you don't have to type of situations. So she was trying to, like, obtain the magazine and read it so that she could share it with the world and be like, but you do not have to subscribe to this and how scary, But to get the magazine, it's supposedly free, but you have to pay for shipping. So it's not really free. But then you also have to auto-enroll in a thing where, like, ultimately you end up having, like, $100 withdrawn from your bank account, like, over the course of a year. And, possibly perpetually if you don't figure out how to cancel the thing. Yeah. So, yeah. But I was in my own reverse way excited to discover that.
Reverse, but yes.
Just because it's like, as much as I'm like laughing about this, I do think it's very scary.
It's dangerous.
It's scary and dangerous. At the same time, though, I'm not someone who always just looks at people that are very different than me and that have made different choices and just says, like, everything you do is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I, in a certain way, enjoy getting a window into when I just see little slices of life that are like, hey, it reminds me that there are people out there living right now. Like, there's somebody in their house right now living a life that's just so very different than mine. I'm always just fascinated.
Yeah.
It's like, who are you and how did you get here and what are you doing?
Yeah.
And do you need help?
Yes.
But
definitely. And then, didn't even mention the etiquette book or whatever that...
I don't necessarily think that the etiquette book is... Okay, so...
I will edit this out. I will edit this out if I'm wrong.
I have not been able to confirm or deny that the etiquette book is
I do not want to... If this person is not connected to them...
Okay, so I found an etiquette book that looks really cool for the kids. And, like, I really like it because... And I paged through it and I did not see any, like, objectionable materials. Like, everything in it I thought was, like, spot on. But it is by Brooke Romney. And I found this, like, several days after I found the book by Lynn Chaney. So, like, my alarms were, like, on high alert. So I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And so... I tried to dig around a little bit to figure out if Brooke Romney is somehow...
Wasn't clear right away.
I could not find a definitive statement of a connection between them, but she is a Mormon, but I don't know if Romney is, like, maybe a common Mormon last name, so it could be, like, it could be like the whatever a popular last name is of, like, Mormon people, and it could be not a connection. On the other hand, it could be like it's a huge family and so she's like a third cousin once removed or something.
I know that the former or current, I don't know, chairwoman of the Republican National Committee was Romney, but she changed her name to McDaniel, I think. But I did Google this author, and it didn't definitively say in her bio, but it did say that she learned how to write on Capitol Hill.
That's why I'm, like, afraid that she's, like, a niece.
Mitt Romney is currently the senator from Utah.
I feel like she could be, like, a niece or a cousin or, like, she's married to, like...
It would be a heck of a coincidence.
Yeah, like...
Although like, you're right, I don't know how common in the Mormon community is
that's
Romney.
What I'm saying, is that
I don't know.
I couldn't find a definitive connection.
I mean, I assume these people have big families, though. So
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I feel like she probably, like, there's probably some thread there. I couldn't find a definitive connection, and the book is good, so...
Yeah, it seems fine.
It wasn't like the Lynn Chaney book, which I just obviously couldn't do.
our wheels were already turning because of these other connections, so... I don't think I can be blamed for being a little suspicious.
Right.
Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
I feel like we've covered a lot. Are there any other, like, Splendors of Autumn topics that you feel like are calling out to be addressed?
You talked about Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, well, because I mentioned it earlier when I said that I made the oatmeal cookies, and it reminded me of that episode where she's like, Protestants love oatmeal. But I haven't watched that show in a long time, and like I do feel like in the autumn I get like a little bit of a craving for that. I was just so burned by the reboot that
we don't have to pretend like that.
I want to like Eternal Sunshine that reboot out of my like consciousness.
Or like the Men in Black thing.
Yes, so upsetting.
Yeah, I like that show. The show, not the.
I think though the other reason we haven't watched that show recently is that there was that window of time where we could watch it with the kids because
they don't get like all the.
It was nuances. Wholesome because they didn't get the references to things that weren't wholesome, but now they just all have so many questions.
Yeah, they want to know why they're saying this or that, or what does that mean?
What's happening? Why are they doing that? What are they doing there? Where will they go now? And it's just like, so it's like suddenly not as wholesome. It's like so wholesome until it isn't.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a good show.
It's interesting. It is a good show. It's interesting, though, if you think about that show in terms of wholesomeness. I feel like Rory actually has, like, terrible values.
Yeah, and judgment.
Yeah, like, she doesn't grow as much as a character as, like, she should.
But the only thing she's good at is being an only child who's smart and secretly rich because her grandparents are rich.
Yes.
And she gets every door opened before her.
But then she always, like, somehow finds a way to ruin her chances, even though, like, it's like, we've rolled the velvet carpet out in front of you, but, like, somehow you've decided to, like, set it on fire.
Yeah.
For no good reason.
Well, Dean, the reason. But.
And just general, like.
Yeah, general irresponsibility and.
Yeah. But,
But anyway, even though Rory is a problematic character, I do like that show.
I do like that show.
It's very well written and acted, and it looks nice.
It looks so good. I mean, that counts for a lot. I mean, I think that's a lot of the reason why people like Hocus Pocus so much. It just looks good. It just feels.
Speak for yourself.
It feels the way that you want it to feel when it's October.
You maybe.
But the same thing for Practical Magic.
I do like that one more than Hocus Pocus.
I did see a funny meme about Gilmore Girls that was like, Gilmore Girls is really just a show about being the two hottest people in your small town. It's like so true. But
we've of course lived in small towns before.
If you were the two hottest people in your small town, it really would be happening.
Well, it's the biggest fish in the small pond or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But like that's the most like overall idealized version of small town life that there possibly is.
I feel like that's like if I just saw that show and hadn't ever actually experienced living in a small town, I could like accidentally like excitedly move to a, you know what I mean, when people just are like, I'm radically changing my life
that are really like that, but they're all unaffordable.
Small town. Yeah, no, because there is a place like that and it's called Fort Bragg, and that's where I want to move. But really, any small town with a lighthouse is an elevated small town, though. Not the same as a regular non-lighthousey small town. And, like, a beach. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But
much better than that.
But no, I feel like if I'd watched that show and never lived in a small town, and I was having some kind of, like, a radical life crisis also coupled with, like, financial freedom, I could accidentally, like, move to, like, some tiny town in New England and then be like, I've made a terrible mistake.
Yeah, right.
It could totally happen.
Absolutely.
But no, it's just the autumnal vibes. Like, I just want to, like, soak in shows like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten more into reading, like, dark academia type of, like, books, too. And I feel like it's a similar thing where, like, dark academia, you know, it's like you're, like, at the university and it's the fall and, like, it's raining and you're drinking coffee and, like, it's just, like, I'm there for it, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But what about Friday Night Lights?
Oh, I love that show. That's another thing that I would like to revisit at some point. It's funny, though, because I think of it as a fall show because it's, like, football. But watching football isn't a part of my actual fall.
No, not at all.
Watching Friday Night Lights, though, could be a part of my actual fall.
Absolutely.
But that's also just an excellent show.
It is. very well written and acted. Also has good aesthetics.
Yes. And I think that's the thing about all the fall things. Think about it. Fall has good aesthetics. Like, that's a part of it. Like, it's the vibe. It's the colors.
Definitely think I'm an earth tone person.
I mean, you kind of, your actual self are earth toned, I would say.
I'm saying my clothes that I think I look best in are like usually earth toned.
Well, that's because, I mean, you have hazel eyes and like brown hair and freckles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that goes with like all the earth tones.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to wear earth tones, but I cannot.
Why?
Because, like, if you're probably like an autumn, I'm like a deep winter. And so I can wear like jewel tones that have like a cold undertone.
And black, clearly.
And black, yes. I mean, but black, I mean, what's colder than black? I need like...
Black.
Yes.
Black.
I wear crisp colors, like black, white, deeply saturated colors with a cool undertone. Things like that. That's like what I can wear. But like, you can wear olive green. If I wear olive green, I will look sick. I would love to be able to wear like a camel colored sweater, but I cannot. But like, if you wear green, it just makes your eyes look greener. If I wear green, it makes me look like I might be like having a jaundice or something. But that's okay, because I can just stand beside you and appreciate colors from afar.
Is there anything else we didn't talk about?
I feel like we covered a lot.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't?
No.
I think we're good.
I'm excited to spend fall with you.
Me too. I think we're going to have fun this year.
Yes, I agree.
Just with the trick-or-treating and the general merriment.
Yes.
I cannot wait to get like pumpkins and mums and put them on like the steps going up like our front porch.
Yes.
That's going to be so good. Especially since I hacked away all those rose bushes and it's like not looking so good right now.
Looking a little threadbare.
But you admit it was looking bad before too.
It was looking real. I mean, obviously whoever lived here before didn't care for them at all.
It's sad because I think whoever lived here before actually like planted a lot of plants and clearly did care, or at least tried to make it look good at one point.
But I think
then someone just didn't touch
just totally
anything,
like,
and
overgrown.
So some of the things just like they twined around each other. Bless you.
Thank you.
Some of those plants had just twined around each other to the point where like they had to be destroyed because like I couldn't like disambiguate them.
Yeah.
But I did discover that thing with the pink flowers.
Yeah.
I think it's an anemone.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if I'm saying that correctly because I think anemones are a sea creature.
They are. That's what.
But like it's anemone. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but I've never said it out loud.
I'm afraid to say it out loud because it looks like it should be anemone, but I feel like that.
But that's
has to be
something
wrong.
else. That's the sea creature.
But does it not look like it's spelled anemone?
It does, but I just kind of like.
Anemone?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about, though.
But
I did not even know that thing was there.
No.
Because it was like so covered with like vines and like weird other sticks and stuff. So I mean, I think the hacking away that I did was good, even though like right now it's in a kind of sad transition point. But think how good it's gonna be when we get a hacksaw and finish hacking away some of those things, and then with like the pumpkins and the mums, it's like it's all gonna be happening.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you for being on the Rob Burgess Show again.
Oh, you're welcome.
Come back soon.
Absolutely.